Hello, 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 hello. Happy Wednesday. How's everyone doing today? Good morning, Zello. Dog that was in emergency vet is doing better today. The other dog we're still waiting for tests on. So we'll figure that out. Good morning, Sterling. Glad you could join us. I didn't think you'd be here. Good morning, Jacob. Thank you for putting in all the earnings, by the way. Good morning, Patrick. The big ones like AMD was a beat, but down 9.92. Remember, a lot of these stocks are very, very expensive. That's also why, with the beat, the market's definitely shifting and not rewarding multiple expansion anymore. So keep that in mind. In most cases, not in all cases. Chipotle beat down 4.54. Good morning, Mark. Did I miss anybody else in here? No, I got that. Everything's out of order. Sorry about that. Good morning, Royal Palms. Remind me, Royal Palms, we can check on Planters Peanuts. Good morning, Mark. Good morning, Jake. Good morning, Yogi. Good morning, Anissa. Oh, there we go. Yum Brands missing on EPS. Not so yummy this morning. Taco Bell. Good morning, Tony. Hello, Charles. Uber was a misspeed, also earning Uber missing on EPS. Thank you for putting those in, Sterling. Good morning, Ted. All right. Alrighty. Already halfway through the week. Where do we stand now? Government shutdown is over. But that doesn't mean we're getting out like the non-farm payrolls. I do not believe we're getting them on Friday still. So today we have the ISM numbers coming out at 10 a.m. Eastern. Again, I'm most going to pay attention to ISM prices and employment numbers. But everything was in expansion last round, and these are just January numbers. And we also have the EIA numbers coming out at 10:30 Eastern. So that's really it on the agenda this morning. Uh, Not else, but really pay attention to that 10 a.m. time frame. Ooh, I didn't see that one. Old Dominion Freight Lines beat stock down close to 1%. Let's see, S&P 500, you have Lilly, which was a beat, also up 8.13%. Mix, we have Alphabet after the close today. Remember that one? But it's sort of the based off of AMD sell the AI play. There's your Palantir also down 2.43%. Lilly's the big mover though this morning. Groups, you got basic materials, metals trying to bounce, at least gold and silver are. Healthcare looks like it's more rotation into some safety today. Technology is the only thing that's lagging. Fed watch has 90% in March. Remember, nothing in this month, February, we're all the way out in March. This, I don't even know what to say. This is fear mode again. Fear mode. This market momentum, you've got to be kidding me. We're already in fear from that little downdraft. Schiller PE 4032. And after the close, we got the biggies are Qualcomm and Alphabet. Alphabet and Qualcomm. Other things you got O'Reilly, Snap, but the biggest are especially Alphabet. Tomorrow we got ConocoPhillips, and then tomorrow afternoon we got Amazon. So we're not out of the woods yet. All right, we've got again rallies are continuing to be sold, at least in the S&P and Nasdaq in consolidation mode. Things I'm looking at. Going into the open, 69.65 has to turn into key support before I can at least get choppy bullish. Other than that, this is currently resistance to 69.65 area. Current support, we have 68.92 and about 68.65. So those are the two areas that I'm watching for support unless they're broken and we start getting a spike in the VIX or we get momentum. If we get momentum to the upside, I'm looking above 69.65 for potential breakout play. If that holds, I'm looking rollover plays there. Above there at 70.22. Again, we're in a big, just chop, range-bound market with waning momentum. So that's where we sit there. Good morning, Balaji. ODFL is a perfectly formed 1 hour double top that may be good in a good scalp candidate. Let's see. ODFL. Old Dominion has a 1 hour, and it does into a clear path move. You are correct, completely correct. That could be interesting. It looks like it might trigger right at the open. That could be interesting. Thank you for pointing that out. NASDAQ also. Again, really pay attention. We got a couple little cascading support levels here, but if the NASDAQ starts taking out this, I'm first looking at 25,200, but then it's really got to get about 25,100 with some momentum to really start looking for shorts. But it's getting into this critical area. We're still getting buying pressure down here, but if this buying pressure breaks, if there's the last couple days, we've had some buying pressure, especially this 2 day reversal here is even buying pressure. So if this area breaks, watch out in the NASDAQ. Just remind me, Jake. So that's what I'm paying close attention to going into the open. So I'm looking at this 25,200 area. If we break below that, I'm focused on 25,100. So the upside has got to get above 25,509 with momentum for me to play the long side, or it's got to hold support. That's about it overall. Huge. I mean, what people keep missing is this is still, we're trading at the same area as the beginning of October highs. Like this was the October 8th and 9th. And that was prior resistance, confirmed again at the third week in October, but we're trading right back to those levels. So the NASDAQ has not done anything on a net basis really since, beginning of October. And if we start losing this 25,100, we could be back into, retest possibly the November lows, if not the highs from August. So just on a broad base, this is not going a whole bunch of anywhere. The Dow's just a big choppy mess. Pay attention to 48,980 for support, and then about 48,600. If we start losing the 50, then I'll start looking for more rollover plays in the Dow, but the Dow has not been great trading besides support resistance. The Russell still trying to grind higher after holding the 50-day. We still have not invalidated the final target on that on the Head and Shoulders, but I would not be aggressively short just yet unless again we can start breaking below about 2640. Other than that, going to be paying attention if it rallies. There's very strong resistance at this 2679, 2680 area. That is going to be very, very key because if it blows through there, then I'm watching for a potential retest of the high area. The VIX, I'm paying close attention to also. We're still just stair stepping higher. More aggressively to short if the VIX spikes above 20. We'll pay attention to about this 1875 level minor if we start really moving above there with momentum and the futures going down. But then I'm going to see how it reacts at 20. And support, unless we start breaking this trend line to the downside, I really can't get too bullish. It'll be very choppy bullish. So that's why I'm paying very close attention to the VIX. The DAX, not much to talk about here. The DAX has been a real mess lately. I'm paying attention if we start breaking back below about 24,600 to retest the lows from earlier this week. We got to break out and turn about 25K into support for I'm interested in anything with alongside the yields. Again, we do have a potential double top. That's the only thing that would turn me short-term bearish on the yields because this potential double top does not even invalidate the Head and Shoulders. You can see here, I should call it the inverse Head and Shoulders. The invalidation point is down at 4.074. This gets to 4.092. So you could technically, and I doubted you would even pull back all the way there unless something shocking came out. I am paying attention to those prices paid for ISM numbers coming out at 10. All right. To the upside, very major, beautifully formed potential double top there. I'm then paying attention to this 4.3 area for the breakout play to take us possibly to 4.34, 4.35, which was the highs back in August. So, what else do we got to get through this stuff? Crude. If we have the EIA numbers coming out, I have a support zone back down between about 62.15 to 61.65 that I'm looking at. If we pull back there, my breakout levels are 64 to the upside. If we break below, first warning would be if we close today that this move could potentially be over in the short term if we close below the rising rotation zone. But the real line in the sand for me is down at the 50 EMA and this prior resistance becoming little minorly confirmed support area. Nothing to talk about natty gas. Might be a percent B buy today for a bounce play only. Gold, we did trigger the percent B yesterday and we're getting follow through. I don't know if you saw me on Futures Edge. The stop raise was 50.25. Now the next stop raise is going to be 51.75. I'm going to be really paying attention over the next couple of days to see how we close in relation to 51.75. Remember, we're in the potential rollover zone, but this secondary action so far playing out. I will be looking though if we stall out near for any topping patterns and more aggressively look to raise stops. That's the way I like. That's the way it should be played from my perspective. Silver did not trigger a percent B buy. Trying to run up today and not even to 50% retracement yet. So silver, from my perspective, is we got to get above 102.81, or I have to find some kind of pullback. Again, this is channeling long. I will watch for see if we get the first cross of 4-hour rotation zone and then some kind of pullback into it. Copper, not doing much still. My copper 610 for a potential breakout play if metals can get a move on. Key support 584. Copper's also waning. Platinum, very slight bounce. By the way, percent B buy triggered in platinum yesterday, but this is one of the weaker ones. Dollar index, the 4-hour little minor double triggered, but again, which is interesting to me, there's been no selling pressure. No selling pressure. So that when a pattern, this looks like it could possibly be one of those little doubles that fails. So if the dollar closes above 97.23 or trades through 97.33, it's off the table. But that would tell me that the dollar's regaining strength, and the breakdown move from last week is there's going to be a lot of people trapped in dollar shorts. It looks like Euro. We'll see Euro trying to hold a support level. But if it starts getting through about 117.80, 117.80 is about the key area I'm looking at. Then we'll watch for a more euro breaking down more. Sorry, having trouble talking today. Spiders. Very key level to watch is go 689.50 area. We're opening just above that. If we start breaking down, I'm looking closer to the 50 EMA, just above the 685 area. And if we lose yesterday's low, watch out. That's the key stuff I'm watching in the spiders. If we do, we have a slight gap down, so the gap fill. Well, I mean, we have a slight gap up, so the gap fill would be a 689.53. My major resistance is 695.42. Minor resistance is 694. Qs, big outside reversal day, which closed below Monday's low yesterday. On any buying pressure in the Qs, 616.52 for the gap fill. Pay attention to 613 level. If we start breaking below that, we have support right around the upper 610 area, 610.80, 610.85. We start losing that. 606.90. IWM. Again, going to be a gap up today, 264.10, 262.78 would be for the gap fill. The invalidation point for the Head and Shoulders is 266.47 on a closing basis. Other than that, if we did break below 258.75 area, could be setting up for another push down to that 50 EMA. All right. We had Palantir. Remember, Palantir on the weekly basis has triggered a double top and a very sloppy Head and Shoulders pattern. It was triggered last week. So, and well, they had good earnings. Yeah, but look at the PE, 232, and the forward PE is still like around 150. Super expensive stock. And if it breaks, it's caught on the 50, but if it breaks below this level, I would not want to be long it in the short term. Because you could see it's a very pricey stock. The invalidation point for the double is still 185.04 on a closing basis. Clorox. Ugh. Clorox is still, it made a little mini double top right close to that second target area. This is the weekly. Here's your daily. You can see it. So, if you're trying to do this in the short term, this is not a short term play for me. I mean, we're talking about a PE of 18, dividend yield of 4.3%. But if you're going to watch something, I'm still bullish on this. I will be patiently bullish if we would not be shorting this, but I'd be patiently bullish if we did trigger the double top, because it would be out of the way of the daily rotation zone and possibly out of the way of the 50 EMA. Then I'd start looking for a pullback, which would even make it a bigger value. Slight gap down today, but that's the only thing. Other than that, still going to be watching for just reconnecting the short term with the 200 and a prior major breakdown area. So that is very key on Clorox. So pay attention to the low price of 108.30. Good morning, Heinrich. So there you go, Jake. There you go. And by the way, as Jake did bring up the earnings, Clorox did miss on EPS but beat on revenue. So we're just getting a little pressure here. But Clorox, from my perspective, again, long-term play. A lot of people talking about stocks not being that expensive if you value them against gold prices instead of US dollar. Especially saying that the NASDAQ is down 40% year over year versus gold. Any thoughts? I'm not valuing anything versus gold right now. But again, gold's rallied against, look, a lot of currencies. Gold is in a mini bubble. And people say, yeah, it's not down much, but they're always trying to justify the values. The NASDAQ is very pricey. And unless the dollar is suddenly going away, which it's not yet, dollar's not going away yet. I'm not there. People are just using the metals to justify, hey, it's if you put it in terms of the metals. But again, silver. This was not a sane, rational move, the up move. I'm still hearing, even as of yesterday, gold, silver 500. Yeah. Okay, silver 500, pricing everything in terms of silver. That's just another bubble. By the way, Bitcoin was watching to see if we could get it. Couldn't even sustain a bounce yesterday. Bitcoin also. What happened to, remember, I was hearing months ago, NASDAQ in terms of Bitcoin, not that pricey. Well, Bitcoin's collapsing. You could pick anything. You could have said market stocks in terms of GameStop, not that price. It's garbage. People are just trying to justify it, which that's what's leading me also still When you're looking for every sense to justify still pricey NASDAQ valuations and pricey valuations across the board, you're trying to justify it. Oh, well, value, and remember, valuations don't matter. So why are, oh, but priced in terms of gold, it doesn't matter. Priced in terms of this, it doesn't matter. Even stuff you consider, hey, Walmart. I'm not really, look, there's lots of great plays out there if you look for decent valuations that are having bottoming patterns. We just looked at one, Clorox. Do you think I'm rushing into Walmart at, you can see right above my head, 43.51 P to E? Walmart. You know how much it's got to grow to justify that? Walmart's another one. But hey, why don't we price the NASDAQ in terms of Walmart? This is not something I'd be pouring into. If you're long it, great, just trail a stop. But this is, we don't have a lot of great valuations, and Walmart is not a hyper growth stock. Uh boy. Another one. Costco. Back to 51.87 P to E. All right. Not I mean, that's absurd. But would not be shorting it yet because people still got above, back above the key trend line, tried to do a breakdown play, but then reversed. God, we don't cover this all the time, but Costco. Be careful on this one too. Be careful on Costco, but would not be shorted. Things are not, there's a lot of stuff that's not good value yet. Here's another one, Coca-Cola. Russian to, I mean, it had a really nice breakout from a tradable breakout, but this is not something, again, that I want long term yet. There's other great long term things. This is definitely tradable on the breakout, but PE on Coke of 25 only with a 2.65 dividend is not something I want to shove in a long term portfolio. It's definitely tradable, but not something, again, not a great valuation. There will be, you'll mark my words, we'll start seeing at some point, just like a whole bunch of stuff rushed into metals, whole bunch of stuff rushed into Bitcoin. Then it rushed into metals. At some point, you're going to see a whole bunch of stuff rush into value plays. You watch. Dividend value plays, you're going to start seeing money chasing that, and those things will go insane. And I'm not talking things like Coke. I'm talking more things like Clorox. So that's, I believe the money will start chasing that at some point. Coin is currently traded below 62.5 retracement from the low to all-time high. And you also have Robinhood Coin coming in on the weekly 200 area. Again, from the all-time stuff, I've been watching more, but this is with the, let me clean up a couple levels here. On the all-time, it is below the 62.5. Again, I think we'll round trip Coin to back below 80 or close to 80. It's going to take some more time, and you'll get rip your face off rallies in this one too once Bitcoin stabilizes. Here's another one. Here's your Robinhood. Pay attention to this. 76.23 is very key. In the short term, in the longer term, from the lows to the highs, you're looking closer to about 62. But we could easily see, here's another one, Robinhood round trip it too. By the way, Robinhood also on a weekly basis, we have not covered this one in a while, triggered a massive head and shoulders. So this is another one on rallies with options, would be looking for rollover plays. There's a lot of stuff that was driving the things higher that is now not. Gold is more overvalued than stocks. I don't know if I have a comment on that. So that's where we sit. Pay attention to some of these things because we also have Broadcom, which has triggered a head and shoulders. You got the little 50 week in the way, but we lose that 50 week. We could see further breakdown then. Broadcom, not as pricey as the other ones, but pretty still pricey at 60, at close to 70 PE. You had Oracle, remember this, data center, play, blah, 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 data center, data center, data center. Vertical up, vertical down, now back below the 80, or close to the 87.5. I misspoke, it's not back below, but it's going to reconnect with its 200. There's another one. So things are definitely changing under the sort of below the surface. Still sloppy, head and shoulders top, not triggered yet in Nvidia. Paying very close attention to the 175 area. All right, so just pay attention to some of these things. What do we have going on here? Not much. I'm just looking going in the open on the S&P again. Still 69.65. The minor breakdown level I'll be looking is about 69.34, 69.35. So between 69.34 being support, 69.65 being resistance, those are the two key things. At least some stocks produce something. With that, I hope everyone has a wonderful, wonderful day. And I will see everyone tomorrow. Remember, Alphabet after the close. After the close. So, going to be really watching for this one to see how it reacts. This was a play from the unfiltered investor that could have been turned into a long-term play. We already hit all our targets. So, with that, I will talk to everyone tomorrow. Bye for now.